Hello and welcome back. In this section, we're going to learn one of Python's most powerful built-in functions. That's the map function. This function is applicable when cleaning data, transforming values, and when we're working with Python lists. The map function can make your code cleaner and even more efficient. But who am I to talk about this? I'm Juma Shafara and I'm a data scientist at Raising the Village and instructor at Data Idea. I've taught hundreds of people programming for data science, and my mission is to make data science concepts easy for you to understand by covering them in a simple and intuitive way. So if that is interesting, just make sure to subscribe somewhere or click the follow and like buttons so that videos that I will be making can be recommended to you. Alright, so let's dive in. What is the map function? The map function in Python is used to apply functions to every item in an iterable that can be like a list or a tuple, and returns a new map object with the results. Now, that's a mouthful, but let's actually look at how it works. So the way the map function works is that you just do map, okay, and let me increase this in case you can't see well. And then you, inside the map function, we pass in two things. One, the function that we want to apply, and then two, the iterable object on which we want to apply the function. Let's look at that in a real example. Imagine you have a list of numbers that you want to square, okay? Now, the common thing that beginners do is they create a squared empty list like this, okay? And then they will write a for loop like for number in numbers. Then they do the square of the number is say number squared like that. And then they go ahead and append the result into the squared list, the squared empty list. So they do this. Now this is okay. In fact, if we print the result from here, the squared list, we see that we get the squared list of numbers. But you can see this is a bit verbose and untidy, and we can use the map function to be more neat. What we can do is we shall do map, okay, and then we can pass in a function to square numbers. So I'll write a simple lambda function. I'll say lambda, and this one takes in the number and then returns the square of that number like this. So that's the first thing that we pass in. The next thing we pass in is our list. So the list is numbers. Now, what we want to do also, we want to store the result from this map function into a variable, so we can call it maybe squared is equal to that. Now, if I print out the result from here, one thing I want to first print out and then I explain something. So I'll print out squared. When I print out squared, we see that what we get is a map object. So this is the natural value that is returned. What we want to do is we want to convert this to a list. So we can do this, okay, and then we have our squared values from the list. So you can see the difference between this and then this. Now this map function can actually even get better in other scenarios. It doesn't work with only maybe a single iterable object like a single list, but it can even work with two or more lists. Let's say we have some two lists, A and B, and the task is to get the element-wise sum of these lists. What some people will do is they'll maybe do a for loop. They say for count in maybe the range of the len of maybe one of the lists, because they are like the same number of elements for both of the lists, and then they can maybe create an empty list here which will contain the summations. So maybe they can call it sums, and it's an empty list. Then they will do here that sums dot append, and then to the empty list of sums they would try to append the value in A at the position of count plus the value in B at the position of count. Okay, and if you print sums, this probably works well. As you can see, we get 1 plus 4 is 5, and so on. 3 plus 6 is 9. This works fine, but we can also use the map function to be a bit neater, and we can do this by doing map. Okay, and then we can pass in a lambda function, maybe lambda, and then it takes in x, okay, and y, and then the next thing we do is we have x, okay, plus y. So this is our function, and then we can pass in the values with the iterable objects that we want to perform, to apply this function on. So we can pass in A and B, which are our lists, and then this one will return an object called, which we can label sums, okay, and then we can print the result and see how it's looking. Alright, so if I run this, we can see that we still get the same results, but our code is very much cleaner. Now, one thing you may probably have observed is that I am using the lambda functions like this, but you don't have to necessarily always use a lambda function. Okay, you can even use your usual functions like def. Okay, so maybe we can rewrite this particular task but using our common function. So we can do def, and then you can say maybe add. Okay, we can call the function add, and then it takes in x, and then it takes in y, and what it does is it returns x plus y. So this is our usual function. And now when we are using the map function, we shall say sums is equal to map, okay, and then we can pass in our function as add, and then we can pass in our lists, our iterable objects as A and again as B. And if I print out the sums, again we shall confirm that the values are still the same. Now, as an exercise for you, I would like you to use the map function to calculate the length of each word in a sentence. Can you think about some logic to perform that? So to repeat, you calculate the length of each word in a sentence using the map function. Alright, if you managed to get that, kudos, and if you didn't, probably a solution will be in the comment section, so you can check out. Otherwise, if you found this video really helpful, just make sure to subscribe, like, and share so that videos like this can be recommended to you, and also share with your friends. And then keep an eye out for the next section where we shall be looking at the reduce and the filter functions.